Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson. Today we are listening to the shocking murders of Julia Rawson and Emma Walker.
This time on Killers Caught on Camera. In the UK, a woman is picked up by a stranger.
This person is the key to everything.
Who's obsessed with horror memorabilia.
There was Chucky dolls, there was full-size Freddy Krueger. I just presume I was really into horror films.
It became really clear that between them there was a real fascination with true life crime, serial killers, cannibalism.
And in Knoxville, Tennessee,
What is your emergency? I get my daughter from school, and
a secret spy camera is deployed to catch a killer.
Audio is located up here, and we have the camera here. So listen to it.
These are young boys, and it's kind of dangerous.
In the heart of the United Kingdom, in the West Midlands, lies Tipton, home to carer Tracy Barrett.
I'm a friendly person, I talk to anybody, that's my personality.
Tracy's home overlooks the Birmingham Canal, a serene and tranquil space.
There's a lot of public coming down here a lot. There's got the canal boats up and down all the while.
But what used to be a place of calm for Tracy is now tainted with bad memories. In May 2019, Julia Rawson ran a business selling pagan goods with long-term partner Elaine Higginson. She was a keen artist, bubbly, outgoing, and well-known in the area. On the 11th of May, Julia spent the day shopping with Elaine. They parted ways, and Julia went towards the center of Birmingham to meet some friends. But she got on the wrong bus and ended up in the market town of Dudley, 8 miles northwest of Birmingham. The next morning, Elaine messaged Julia, but there was no reply. Julia's friends also hadn't heard from her. Her silence was completely out of character. Elaine called the police.
Julia Rawson was reported missing on the 14th of May 2019. She was reported missing by a friend, having last been seen on the Saturday late afternoon.
Police started to make inquiries. The last sighting of Julia was in a Dudley pub, the Bottle and Cork. The pub was wired with CCTV cameras. Emmy Polito is an expert in forensic video analysis who has worked on hundreds of cases in the UK.
The daytime CCTV of Julia in Dudley helps the police establish what clothes she's wearing, what footwear, what trousers, what jacket, and therefore it really helps the police start in building a picture. Now have a look at this footage. This is really interesting. We see a person matching the description of Julia entering the pub, and we can get a good view of what she's wearing, potentially some patterns on a jumper. This is really good detail that will help with the police investigation in terms of trawling her whereabouts.
Julia was seen chatting and drinking with a man. At around 10:45 p.m., another man came in and sat down at the far end of the bar.
The lamp is covering the person's face completely. It looks almost like if it's done on purpose, doesn't it?
Julia approached him and they started to chat.
This is really good because this puts Julia in a specific location, a specific time, and she's potentially talking to someone that could be involved in her disappearance.
The CCTV footage provided police with vital clues.
This is potentially the last person that Julia is seen with before she disappears. This person is the key to everything.
What was distinctive about him is that during the course of the evening in the pub, he'd rolled up his sleeves and shown Julia some quite distinctive tattoos that he had on both arms.
Yes, the CCTV is not great. We are not able to tell in detail what these tattoos are. But certainly, we know that this person has got tattoos on each of his forearms. And this is really helps the police identifying this person. Okay. Luckily for us, not only do we get a view of the tattoos, but we also get a view from different angles because as the person is showing them, he's also rotating his arms, and this allows us to see them in even more detail. There is a point in the CCTV where the person leans over to Julia, perhaps because he wants to talk a little bit closer to her, and you can get a view of his face. We perhaps can discern a long beard on his face. And again, this is now additional information to the tattoos, which can really help the police identify the person, perhaps with the help of the public.
This imagery was shown by the community support officer to people who work within Dudley Town Centre. Bear in mind that at this stage we've still got a missing person inquiry, and this person was going to be key to that investigation.
The footage was circulated on social media, and a local security guard recognized him. 11 days after Julia went missing, a man matching his description was spotted in Dudley Town Centre.
We're looking for a female missing person who's been missing for 11 days. Okay. We've got things on CCTV with some of the matches your description with her, so we just want to get some details from her. She's been missing for 11 days, so obviously we need to find her. Okay. And because you look like, as we've seen on CCTV, we just get the details from her.
The men were identified as 30-year-old Nathan Maynard Ellis, a former film and theater student, and his 25-year-old boyfriend, David Leasley. Professor Coral Dando is an expert in forensic psychology at the University of Westminster, applying psychological research to help criminal investigations.
We're looking for a female missing person.
Here we've got some body cam footage of Nathan being stopped initially by one police officer, and he was then joined by at least one other, maybe a third, because he resembles the person that was last seen with Julia.
With some of the matches your description with her, so we just want to get details from her.
He reacts sort of quite indifferently.
And because you look like the person we've seen on CCTV, we just get some details from her.
He tries to turn and do a bit of reverse engineering, we call it, with the police officer and sort of say, well, this is nonsensical, doesn't make sense. If I was the person involved, don't you think I'd have changed my appearance?
Nathan was answering questions and was being cooperative.
You'll notice from the body-worn camera footage that the officer gives out this information and then says nothing, and then Nathan feels it. We know when people are being deceptive that they don't like to be silent. Silence is uncomfortable. So they will always try and fill a silence with something. Conversely, David, his partner, seems to react sort of very, very nervously, blowing his nose, coughing, almost seeming as if he's going to be physically ill at any point.
And one thing we can notice from the footage is that the adult male is carrying quite a large bag, which to me looks like almost as if it's a pillow or some sort of bedding. And again, this could be an interesting piece of detail for the investigation.
Police were confident he matched the man seen in the bar.
We get a good idea from these images of the size and of the tattoos and where they are located in the arms.
Because they'd been apparently had gone under the sort of radar, I suspect they'd let their guard down. So initially he may have covered his tattoo, but then he's become a little bit more confident. It's not unusual for people to just think that they're clever enough to get away with this sort of thing, and so as a result he hasn't got to bother to cover his tattoo or change his appearance. In actual fact, if he thought about it, that's exactly what he actually should do, because it would have reduced the likelihood that he was going to get spotted. When people do not have the chance to develop a story or a lie script or prepare for telling a lie, it's a classic opportunity for spotting when people are being deceptive.
The fact that he changed nothing about his appearance suggests to me that probably, especially combined with the response of, I would have changed something, he thought that that would make him look more innocent. So at some point he knew, well, the police are going to ask me, they're going to maybe pull up CCTV footage or some sort of picture and say, hey, this looks like you. And his response was going to be, well, I would have changed my appearance if I had been guilty.
Nathan was arrested on suspicion of kidnapping and taken into custody. David provided a written statement and claimed he and Nathan were at home all night. Police now had a suspect in Julia's disappearance, but still no idea where she was. They searched the canal for evidence, but the extensive security camera footage revealed both men made regular trips along the canal path with heavily loaded plastic bags.
Well, these houses here have got CCTV footage of Nathan and David walking up and down the canal with carrier bags in daytime and nighttime.
Police weren't sure where the men were going or what heavy items were in the bags. Julia was still missing. CCTV footage also revealed Nathan had celebrated his birthday the day after Julia's disappearance.
It could be that the person is trying to look normal, and so they're putting on a brave face, they're going out as normal so that they have an alibi so that people don't point out that they're acting weird. Or it could be that they actually don't have those feelings.
Tracy lived directly below them and noticed something else that was odd.
There was light coloured wood going up the stairs. I presumed it was my brother, and it wasn't on his feet. See, this is dark, ain't it? That's dark. But if you go over there, well, you can see it. Look, it's lighter. The soil going up my stairs, not this colour, this is dark. The soil up my stairs must have come from the other side because it's paler, lighter colour like clay over there. That's coal dust, and that definitely wasn't up my stairs. And the next day it had gone, and our cleaners don't come till about 30 Fridays. I just thought it was strange how the cleaners must have come early.
Unusual nighttime cleaning. And Nathan and David remained uncommunicative with neighbours.
If and when I did see them, they was quite polite and well spoken. That's the only thing I know of them. No conversation with them, as in conversation, just the time of day.
And they had a unique taste in home accessories.
There was Chucky dolls on one of the walls. There was full-size Freddy Krueger. I just presume they was really into horror films. This is nobody in the right mind would have all that stuff. You all like horror films, but you wouldn't be the old flat full because you could see as much as you could from the canal anyway without having to go inside to the horror stuff.
Police got a warrant to search the flat and confirmed what Tracy had observed. On top of the gory obsession, a range of tools, including a saw and ornamental weapons.
It became really clear that between them there was a real fascination with true life crime, serial killers, cannibalism.
There is some research which has found that people who like horror films are more likely to be high on what's called sensation seeking. On top of that, horror films often represent our greatest fears, and so it gives you a safe way to explore encountering those fears. Psychologically speaking, the reason why people like horror movies is because they like the thrill, they like being shocked, maybe even disgusted. But if you are already predisposed to violence and you have higher sensation seeking and you're watching horror movies, you might take inspiration from your horror movies to engage in your violent tendencies and then do terrible things to people.
The shrine of horror memorabilia was untouched, but much of the flat had been refurbished.
The van pulled up and I was getting carpet, light coloured carpet, out of the van. Heard them banging around, obviously, and I'm fitting carpet. And then my brother said there's rolled up carpet in the bin, it stinks. So I went down and smelt it. I went, oh God, yeah. So that's meat, you know, when you've left meat in a bin liner and that smell. I just presume somebody threw a rotten chicken in the bin.
In most cases, but especially in cases involving major crimes such as murder or kidnapping and rape, the police will start gathering evidence from a small confined area, which usually is limited to the scene of the crime.
Police pulled up the carpet and found a stain. It was blood and matched Julia's.
If and when that limited amount of CCTV or video evidence reveals enough information, then the investigators can extend their scope to search for video evidence to larger areas. And it becomes a little bit like a tier level investigation.
Further afield, CCTV footage revealed Nathan getting rid of his couch. Tracy provided police with more clues.
The front door wasn't working for quite a while. I had a look at it, and there was unscrewed, so the door couldn't quite shut. And then I put it right myself, actually. I just put the screw back in so the door could shut. Then we unscrewed it so that through the night we wouldn't hear the door shutting and opening because it makes a noise, a buzzing noise, for about 2, 3, 4 seconds and shuts.
In retrospect, Tracy realized something was going on.
I've always got my windows open, whether it's winter, rain, snow, and I'd have heard that all through the night. Obviously getting rid of evidence.
Search teams abandoned the canal and turned their attention to the wasteland on the other side of the water. Sniffer dogs searched the area.
I received a call from the search advisor to be informed that they'd made what turned out to be a very good discovery.
They took the dogs over that side, and that's when they found body parts, which is just there.
Over the course of the next few days, police found the rest of Julia's body.
The body parts were very, very well wrapped and preserved. There was no scent given off for dogs to pick up on. There was no flies for us to indicate on. Ultimately, one of the body parts was exposed slightly, but you couldn't see it. Now, it was a specially searched dog that picked up on the scent from that first body part that led us to that location, which was not visible to the naked eye at all.
The first parts I found was a head, torso, and a thigh.
12 separate body parts were found.
The search phase lasted a total of 4 to 7 days. It sounds a long time, however, the searches were split over various areas, canals, woodland, refuse tips, self-storage units, premises, drains, and other areas.
They were found scattered in quite a large area, but the drone footage really helps us get an idea of the scale of the area or where the body parts were found. And this potentially could indicate that the suspect is forensically aware and is trying to cover his tracks as best as he can. Now, this would have taken a considerable amount of time and effort to be able to do, because otherwise he would just dump the body in one place.
The body parts were sent to a specialist imaging unit.
Now, in this particular case, the police have also employed the services of Warwick University to get three-dimensional reconstruction virtual footage of the actual injuries on the body. Now, this is done so that the images are not too upsetting or too graphic in the courtroom, but also help establish the extent of the injuries.
Analysis of the images showed there were two types of incisions made. The first were clean cuts, the second more amateur.
We can see from the images here that there have been some false starts and failed attempts to dismember or dissever the body, and the different styles of cuts that we can see from the imagery potentially could suggest that there were more than one person employed in this operation.
The amateur cuts helped prove a second person had helped Nathan dismember Julia. Nathan and David were charged with murder. Most of Julia's body was retrieved, but her kidney was missing.
People who murder, especially people who spend a lot of time planning their murders, sometimes take trophies from the crime scene. So they will keep things like photos, or they'll keep objects, or sometimes even things like hair or body parts. That is, however, really rare. So mostly if you take a trophy or memento, as it's sometimes called, from the crime scene to remember your kill, to remember what you did, you will take things that are less obvious and just belonged to the victim, not actual organs.
It hit home the severity of what had unfolded right under me.
Forensic pathology concluded Julia had been bludgeoned to death with a rolling pin before being dismembered.
I realised that quite a lot of the detail around what happened to Julia in her final hours and the terrible things that took place within the flat and the way in which she was thinking dead and disposed of in the horrific circumstances causing absolute terrible news to the community in which these discoveries were made.
Nathan and David were tried separately in December 2020. During Nathan's trial, a dark past came to light when a character witness took the stand. She'd been in a relationship with Nathan, and he'd been sexually violent towards her.
Having got a previous history of sexual violence and other types of violent behaviour which may not be sexual in nature, but bring those two together is a red flag for future offending in terms of murder. So it's like an aggressive type behaviour, and they get away with it once or twice, maybe even get convicted, serve a term of imprisonment for serious sexual violence or other violent behaviour, so it could be GBH, ABH, afraid, that type of thing. And then when they come out, or if they haven't been convicted, if they walk away, they will often, men typically go on to murder.
For the murder of Julia Rawson, Nathan claimed diminished responsibility, that it was a terrible accident, and, in a panic, disposed of her body.
It seems as if Nathan was the dominant one. He certainly appeared to be the person that was reaching out to have psychologically damaging relationships with women, damaging to them physically and psychologically, but also damaging to himself because he was trying to repress the true him for the public, for society at large. That behaviour fits within, we would expect. And this acting out of fantasies, obsessive thought behaviours, psychologically damaging behaviours is just one of a long list of behaviours that are exhibited by people who try and repress their sexuality and try and present a self to the world which is not true.
Nathan was sentenced to 30 years for Julia's murder and for 4 offences of historic rape. At David's trial, he was also found guilty of murder and sentenced to a minimum of 19 years.
This was a complex investigation that involved an extensive search of an area to locate Julia's body. The sole aim of the investigation to seek justice for Julia. I hope that the result today provides some solace for Julia's family. I know that they are still grieving for her loss, but hopefully as a family unit they can move forward.
So in this situation, we have two gay men who are in a relationship together and they kill a woman. And there has been some research on what sometimes feels incongruous. So although many men who are gay embrace aspects of femininity that straight men often don't embrace in the same way, there still can be misogyny within gay male communities. So you're not sort of outside of the norms, you're not outside of culture entirely just because you're a gay man. And so you can still have that hatred that can get built up and manifest in very violent ways.